Story time about how my best friend got my house raided. So a little background information, I was 16 and in 11th grade, and we're gonna call my best friend Jenna. Jenna and I have been on and off friends since elementary school. Now, the reason why we were on and off friends was because Jenna was the type of person who ended up in drama all the time. And coincidentally, anytime that I would stop being her friend, I would be in no drama. Now, there have been multiple times where I've tried to break off our friendship for good, but Jenna, of course, was the type of girl who would threaten to unalive herself whenever things didn't go her way. And I low-key have a savior complex. Also, I literally lived right across the street from her. So it was very hard to cut this friendship off. Well, anyways, fast forward, so her and I are friends, which also wasn't good because she was a very bad influence on me. For example, I didn't have a driver's license, but I had a car. So of course I would go pick her up and her and I would fuck shit up together, aka do bad things. Well, the one night I let her drive and she ended up going to my ex-boyfriend's house like for part 2.
One of the reasons I started doing nails was to escape. It's a way of focusing on myself and clearing my head, kind of like my safe space. I look forward to setting aside a few hours so I can get creative and let my imagination roam a little. Getting your nails done or doing your own nails is definitely a channel of expression with very few words. Ever since I started doing nails, I realized what a confidence booster it can be. I love doing the same for my clients, and it really brings me joy to see their happy faces when they leave with beautiful nails. The one thing I hope you can take away from this video is not to forget to set aside some time for yourself and do what makes you happy. Little hack for beginners who want to practice taking off gel polish with an e-file bit. First thing you want to do is get one of these practice tips, buff it to remove the shine, and apply gel polish. I'm using a lighter polish and a darker polish. The lighter polish will represent the base. Remember that if you are filing the base, you are very close to the nail plate. Then you want to paint 2 coats of the darker shade and apply a top coat. After you cure, take whichever drill bit you want to use. I'm using my soft grit carbide bit, and you can start filing just as you would a regular client. So your goal is to not touch or file the base. In our case, it's the lighter color. Those little white spaces would be considered the natural nail. Hey guys, so here we're doing hard gel strengthening for the natural nail. We're going to start by applying a thin layer of hard gel to the natural nail. Then take a thin brush and get as close to the cuticle as possible. You then want to get a nice drop of hard gel and apply it and pillow it down onto the nail like this. Kind of in a circular motion. And of course it's self-leveling, so you won't really have to do many maneuvers to get it even. I like to go in with my thin brush to fix any unevenness, and then you flip the nail over. Make sure to check in the lamp if everything's even and cure. Chelsea is back, finally, her long-awaited update. Her nails actually held up pretty strong for a month and a half, other than that one nail I fixed when she cracked it playing tennis. She didn't eat all day, so we ordered her sushi while we watched Love is Blind, and also catching up on life. Honestly, it felt like a BFF date. For her nails, she found some inspo on Pinterest, and it's a hot pink reflective glitter mani with flowers, very basic, but also really highlights her long natural nails. You'll see them at the end, but wanted to get the nails out of the way before getting into what our nosy selves love to hear, the tea. So last time she told me she put her foot down and told her husband she can get a manicure once a month without feeling guilty for not looking after the baby. She did that only thanks to your comments that she reads after every video is posted, and she told me the most recent comments made her tear up. She said after reading them, she was encouraged to have a sit-down conversation with him about what she thinks needs to change if he wants her to stick around. And as expected, he didn't take it well at first, but she said he's coming around and getting past his pride and ego one day at a time. We'll see. Male nails again, lawyer edition. My client used to be a criminal prosecutor. Let me tell you one of his crazy stories. So one day, 2 guys wanted to rob a jewelry store. They decided the best way to learn the ins and outs of the store was to abduct the security guard. One of these kidnappers pulled the guard into a van to try to get some info out of him, but the guard fought back. He fought back so much that the kidnapper shot him in the head while the other was driving. So at this point, while being shot in the head, the guard managed to roll himself out of the moving van while the kidnappers tried to flee the scene. While bleeding, the guard crawled to his car and drove himself to the hospital. This client hasn't been able to get her nails done in over 3 months. She recently went through something traumatic, and she let me share her story. So she was dating this guy for 5 years when they decided to get married. He was an accountant and had a business. My client noticed that he would buy expensive things like designer shoes and cars, but when she tried questioning it, he would just say that his business was doing well. Soon after the wedding, she found out he'd been cheating on her for years, so she packed all of her stuff and left. When trying to withdraw money one day, she found out he cleared out her savings, money that she spent years working for. Turns out he was never actually an accountant. He never even graduated college. To make matters worse, she lost her job due to COVID within that same period. Over the past few months, she had to find a new job, a new place to live, and a way to cope with all of this. She said doing her nails brightens up her day and gets her mind off of this craziness. The rubber base is different than a hard gel, and I'll show you why. You can see this rubber base has a medium consistency by how easily the drop forms and falls, as compared to hard gel, which is much thicker and a much harder material. To see the difference, I'm going to apply both the hard gel and rubber base on a see-through plastic and cure. This is a great way to test your gels to see what types of nails they are best suited for. After curing, we can now play with the gel to see how bendable and flexible it is. So as you can see, the rubber gel is extremely bendable, and as much as I try to break it, I can't, which means it's elastic and can bend with the nail if the nail were to go through some kind of trauma. As compared to the hard gel, which was much harder to bend, but it ended up not breaking, meaning it's slightly flexible and can be used to strengthen weak nails. But if you were to hit your nail, it might break easier. I always talk about aligning the nail plate with a rubber base, but I never fully explain the reason behind it and proper steps. The whole point of a rubber base is its consistency. Because it's thick and elastic, it allows you to build the architecture of the nail and provide its structure. With this technique, you can correct the nail's imperfections and the gel lasts longer. I use a rubber base with a medium to thick consistency for long nails like these. So first thing you want to do is apply a thin layer of the base close to the cuticle. This is so that the drop of aligning base spreads faster. Next, you want to put a drop of base on the highest point of the nail, the apex, and in a pillowing motion, bring the drop downwards until you reach the free edge. Then you can distribute the drop if you see any bumps or unevenness, usually in a zigzag motion. Easy life hack is to flip the nail over so the base can flow into the middle of the nail, and this allows you to form the perfect arch for the nail structure. To check that everything is even, bring the nail close to the lamp and check for that little circle. The only clean bit is probably the safest type of bit on the market right now. It's designed to not damage your client's cuticle or nail plate. I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by using a kiwi, which similarly to a nail plate has a few layers. Pay attention to how many times I file over the same spot of the kiwi. Notice how I can't reach the inside of the kiwi no matter how hard I try. Now, if we compare this to the soft grit diamond flame bit, which I usually use in my work and in my videos, it took only a few seconds for me to reach the inside of the kiwi, or in nail terms, overfile the natural nail. So if your client has sensitive skin or you're a beginner, this bit is perfect for you. This client is an essential worker. She's been coming to me for years, but since COVID began, her visits seem more rare. As a pharmacist, she sometimes does rounds at the hospital and is constantly administering COVID tests and recently also the vaccine, alongside her other responsibilities. She is constantly sanitizing, washing her hands, wearing gloves, and she wants to take care of her nails, but sometimes life gets a little too overwhelming, which is understandable. She usually comes to me with very dry hands, outgrown nails, and overgrown cuticles. But it's my pleasure to help clean her nails up, even if it's a rare occurrence these days. Essential workers, you are appreciated. This is one of the many parts to answering this question because this concept is so important. In order to cleanly cut the cuticle like in my previous video, the actual pocket of skin that you get when you push the cuticle needs to be cleaned very well. The pocket cannot have any dust or hanging skin just like you see here. The best way to clean this area is with fine bits. So the first part of my answer is to invest in quality bits. Cheap doesn't always mean good. I want to show you the difference between the bits I got from Amazon when I first started with the bits I use now. So these came in a pack of 30, so I thought it was a really good deal back then, but little did I know that everyone's skin and cuticle is different, which is why bits have colored nozzles on them representing their grit. If your client has sensitive skin and you don't know how rough the bit is, you are taking the risk of potentially cutting them or overfiling their nail plate. The reason I say invest is because you would be investing in your work. Using quality bits allows you to speed up the prep process, they clean better, and last longer. I'm going to show you how to safely remove this dead skin. It can be removed safely, and I use cuticle scissors for this. First thing you want to do is place the bottom blade of the scissor under the dead skin and the upper blade right above it, parallel to the nail plate. You want to be very careful and cut in small increments, so no more than 2 millimeters at a time. The accuracy of your cut depends on the motion of your hand, so you want your hand and scissor to bend in the direction the skin is. For the cleanest results, you want to cut the dead skin in one shot like I do here. I don't really want to get into nail anatomy in this video, but what I am cutting is the lower folds of the eponychium, which consists of dead skin cells. Similar to the calluses on your feet, it's very dry and shriveled, which is why it doesn't hurt your client when it's cut properly. If you cut deeper, you'll reach living skin, and of course that can cause an infection and bleeding. Let's talk about how to test the quality of your gel products. So if you work with gel and do structured manicures, the quality of your products are super important because you don't want your client's nail plates to be damaged after 3 to 4 weeks of wear. So the way we can test this is by doing an acidity test. I recommend doing this test for all the bases you work with because if you're investing in products, you want to make sure they're high quality. I'm testing our Linto rubber base and I currently use it in my work, and we also sell it on our website. So I'm taking these pH indicator strips that I got from Amazon. They were like $10 for a pack of 2. And if you remember from 4th grade science class, pH level of 7 is neutral, below 7 is acidic, and above has an alkaline environment. And based on a recent German study, the nail plate has a pH of 7.2-ish, so a base with plus or minus 2 units is safe to use on your nail. If a base is below 5, that means it's acidic, and I wouldn't recommend to use it on the natural nail. This one is between a 6 and a 7, so it's perfect. Part 2 of my lawyer client's crazy story. So to recap, a security guard of a jewelry store was abducted by these 2 men who wanted to rob the store. They took the guard into their van and shot him in the head. I forgot to mention that the guard was shot in the leg first, but because he wouldn't give up a fight, the kidnapper shot him again. So this man was shot twice and managed to roll himself out of the van and drive to the hospital. To answer all of your questions, yes, he arrived to the hospital safely and was taken into surgery. He sustained permanent injuries, but he is alive and well. As for the charges, the case is still ongoing, so he wasn't able to disclose further details, but they are looking at life sentences.
My ex-husband and I divorced 2 years ago due to irreconcilable differences. We share custody of our 7-year-old daughter, Lily, and have managed to maintain a relatively civil co-parenting relationship. However, things recently took a turn for the worse. Last week, Lily turned 8 and I decided to throw her a birthday party at our home. I planned the event meticulously, inviting Lily's friends and our family members and a few close neighbors. I wanted it to be a special day for her. However, when I sent out the invitation to my ex-husband, I specifically mentioned that he would not be able to bring his girlfriend. Now, my reasoning behind this decision is that my ex-husband has been dating someone new for the past 6 months and Lily hasn't had much interaction with her. I didn't think it was appropriate to have a stranger present at her birthday party, especially since my ex-husband and I agreed to introduce new partners to Lily gradually. After receiving the invitation, my ex-husband called me immediately, furious and demanding an explanation. He accused me of trying to exclude him from Lily's life and claimed that he had every right to be there for her special day. He argued that his girlfriend had already met Lily on a few occasions and saw no issue with her attending the party. Naturally, this turned into a heated argument, with the both of us standing our ground. I firmly stated that I didn't think it was fair to Lily to have a stranger present regardless of a few brief meetings. My ex-husband insisted that he had just as much as a right to be there as I did and accused me of being spiteful and controlling.